All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to week number 5. That is right, week number 5 of your 7314 class, which is your reference class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin, and what we are going to do this week is we are going to do a state of the course update, and then after the state of the course update, I'm going to tell you about the Gale Legal Forms database, which is a public library database that we actually do not have access to here at Mizzou. However, it is a popular database and one that you really should know about and learn the basics of. So I'm going to go over that. It should only take me about 10 minutes at the most to go over that database. I'm not going to demo the database, and I'll talk about this a little more as we get to that part of the video. I'm not actually going to make a tutorial. I am going to do a slight demo of the database just to show you some of the features and what it does and when you would use it. But we'll revisit that. Let's first get into the state of the course update. I want this one to hopefully be about 25 minutes unsped at the most, and then it should be shorter if you speed it up. And next week's check-in video, just to be honest with you, is going to be longer. I'm going to make that one earlier in the week, and we're going to talk a little bit about Academic Search Premier and JSTOR in next week's check-in video, so that's going to take a little longer. But because I'm a little late getting this one up, I wanted to make this one shorter. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, and actually one thing that I'm going to do real quick is talk about this webcam situation. So as you all know, I was having issues with my university issued laptop 2 weeks ago, and then we didn't have a check-in video last week because of the sync session. Jamie did a wonderful job as always, and I have put her email address in an announcement. And from here, I am using a personal laptop of mine in order to make the check-in video because I can actually now pause this thing. However, the drawback is this webcam, I never used it before, and the webcam is awful. So what I'm going to try to do now is I'm hoping that the University of Missouri will give me a new webcam for this laptop or a surplus webcam for this laptop, because I am using my personal laptop now to do university work, so hopefully they will help me out with that, in which case I just, as you can see, this is grainy and dull and all the other things, and I need a better webcam. But anyway, let's not dwell on that too much longer, but I am at least able to pause as I need to now, and that's going to help make the videos shorter than they were last time around. So yes, all right, so I'm recording this on February the 18th. You do have discussion board prompt number 4 that's going to be due this coming weekend. You should have already turned in your virtual reference practice papers. I have graded 5 so far. I haven't really had time to get into those, but the 5 that I've graded, they were overall pretty good, and so if they're setting the tone, then I am pleased with the work that's coming out of this class so far. So yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, if you can even see my fingers crossed with this terrible webcam. Yes, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that all of the papers are going to be as good as that one, as the ones that I have graded so far, but we will see. So you should have turned that in unless you made prior arrangements with me because you had extenuating circumstances. But yes, for the most part, they have all been turned in. I don't recall any being late, and yeah. Just pay attention to the feedback that I give you on those assignments, because if I am telling you need a little more effort or something like that, that's going to be something that I want you to take note of before your Wikipedia edit assignment is due, and that's going to be due on March the 15th, so in a little less than a month, okay? So yes, again, pay attention to the feedback that you get on the virtual reference practice paper, and that is going to let you know if you need to put a little more effort into your Wikipedia edit assignment, or if your effort was just fine. And even if I don't explicitly say so, if you get a perfect score on the virtual reference practice paper, then that means that yes, your effort is fine, and maintaining that level of effort will get you a good grade on the Wikipedia edit assignment as well. As you'll see here, you do have after the discussion board prompt that's due on March the 1st, so in about 2 weeks. After discussion board 5, you actually don't have a discussion again until April. So in March, you're going to be working on those semester-long projects. I do hope to get the new semester-long project file finalized on Sunday, if things go well with everything else going on in my job and my life, then I will be able to do that. And if I get it finalized on Sunday, I'll send out an announcement and you can begin working on that immediately. But one thing that I do want you all to know, and this came up in the discussion area in one of the questions, if you are able to answer a question, then that question is still going to be on the new file. So basically, if you go into the old file, because some of you do want to get started now, if you go into the old file that's up right now, and you try to answer a question and you're able to answer the question, then that means that question is still going to be there, okay? The only questions that are going to disappear and be replaced are the questions that can no longer be answered because we don't have those resources. So yes, if you've already started, and it looks like one or two of you already have going into the files and everything, if you have already started, that is fine. If you have been able to answer those questions, don't worry about it, because if you've been able to answer those questions are still going to be there on the new file. Again, only questions that are impossible to answer will be removed and replaced. All right, so yeah, with all that said, I will hope to have that file up on Sunday. We will have our final sync session actually pretty early in the semester on March the 10th. We will have Mary Ann Curtis, and she'll talk about reference services at the K-12 level, and also dealing with teachers and parents and that sort of thing. All right. And yeah, so those are the main things you need to know. The Wikipedia edit assignment is on the horizon, but it's not due yet. You've only got 2 more discussion board posts before we actually go into a little break with the discussion board so that you can actually work on your semester-long project. And yeah, those are, let me see what else. Pause. Okay, so yeah, that is pretty much it. Just know that those Wikipedia edit assignments are on the horizon. Do your discussion board prompt this coming weekend on February 22nd is when that's going to be due. And again, just know that on March the 10th, so pretty early in the semester, we are going to have our 3rd and final sync session. And then for the rest of March and then throughout April and May, it's going to be just you kind of on your own. All right. But yeah, it's nice to get those done early, I think. If you're not a fan of those, that is. But for those of you who might be fans of them, yeah, it might be kind of sad for you that those are going to be ending early, but that's okay. Sign up for more of my classes, and I have guest speakers in most of them. Okay, so I lied originally. I did say that this was going to be a shorter check-in video that was going to have me just doing the state of the course update and then doing Gale legal forms. But actually, I'm going to talk about a third thing that I feel is less important after I do the Gale legal forms piece. So I'm going to probably make like a crude table of contents or something like that for the in the announcement. And that third thing, I think it's important. It's more food for thought, though, so it's not as pertinent as actually learning about a database and that sort of thing. But it might be something that you all would want to be aware of, something that a lot of people are thinking about when it comes to people using the internet to get information. And we, as reference librarians, we need to know about this sort of thing. So I will talk about that after this. But first, let's get into Gale legal forms. But yes, so let's talk about the Gale Legal Forms database. And one thing that I want you all to know first and foremost is that this is the Missouri Legal Forms database. However, I want you all to know that this is, they have a version of this for all 50 states, okay? Now, I know that, again, I've got a student in the United Arab Emirates, and I probably have other students outside of the United States as well. I don't know what to tell you, but for my students in America, for my students in the United States, I do want you all to be aware that just because what I'm going to show you is going to be Missouri centered, don't think that this is irrelevant to you if you're not in Missouri. Call up your local public library, and there's a good chance that they have access to the Gale Legal Forms database for your particular state, whether you're in Kansas or in Virginia or wherever you might be, Nebraska. I've got people all over, okay? So with that said, basically what this database does is it provides you with it provides you with legal form templates for common things that people need legal forms for. So if people need divorce forms, if they need real estate forms, if they need, and I'm actually going to go down and show you some of the different things that they offer here. Actually, what they say is most common is over here: divorce, real estate, bankruptcy, landlord, tenant. I would say that one thing that is actually very popular in my personal experience, but that they don't have over here, but they have over here, is automobiles. A lot of people are often trying to sell off automobiles, trying to buy automobiles, and they need the forms for that. and you can get sample forms and template forms for those things as well. But definitely real estate, landlord, tenant, divorce, those are big things because a lot of people try to do things like handle their divorces on their own without lawyers, or, try to, sorry, hold on. Sorry, I got a notification there. Yeah, so they try to handle these various things like purchasing automobiles, or, doing landlord tenant stuff without lawyers, or with as little lawyer use as possible, because as you all know, lawyers, a lot of times they cost at least $300 an hour. And so that can truly add up. Okay. But, so yeah, even though I only have a year and a half's worth of public library experience, but what I will say is that this was something that I made use of a lot, because that's what people a lot of times are coming into the public library for. They are trying to save money and that sort of thing. And one way to save money is not hiring one of those expensive lawyers. So we are actually going to go into, I'm going to go into automobiles for what I'm going to try to show you just in the demo here. All right, so let's go ahead and go in there. And let's, I think that the easiest thing, and by the way, so I do want to remind you all, because I may have mentioned this in an earlier check-in video, but I want to say it again just so that we're clear. This is not a tutorial. This is not me teaching you exactly how to use the database. This is me kind of familiarizing you with the database features, okay? And telling you the basics of what the database does. If you actually want to master a database, it's going to be on you to put in that work. You need to actually find tutorials, which you can find them very easily. A lot of libraries have their own tutorials, and then even if your library doesn't have a tutorial, you can get on YouTube or Google videos and look for tutorials. So you could look for a Gale Legal Forms tutorial, found one, watch it, then get into the database, play around with it, and the more you play around with it, the more you master it, and you're able to apply it when somebody is actually in front of you, because that's what you're going to want to do on your downtime as a reference librarian. One of the things you're going to want to do during your downtime as a reference librarian is you're going to want to get practice on your databases. You are going to have downtime. You are going to have time away from the desk, unless you're at a very small public library generally where people have to be on the desk all the time. But if you're at a medium-sized or larger public library or public library system, a lot of times they have enough people to where at least 2 to 4 hours a day you are not on the reference desk, and instead you're doing other things. One of the other things that you need to be doing is getting practice on your database, so that when somebody's actually in front of you, you're not caught off guard. And that's one of the things that I want you all to take away from the virtual reference practice paper as well. Okay. All right. Let's make me small and let's do this here. So let's say that you wanted to get a bill of sale for your automobile. All right, so what you can do is you can, again, go into automobiles, and this is the links to session here. So I'm in Missouri Legal Forms, automobiles, and then I went into bill of sale. And these are the 7 items that come up in bill of sale, right? Now, here's one of the important things that I want you all to know. This database has things that are state specific, and then there are also things that they have that are just kind of generalized, and you can tailor them in Word or whatever word processing application you're using. But if it's not state specific, then that means that it's something that you have to kind of alter a little bit to make it apply to your state or your circumstances. And the way that you're going to know whether or not it's a state form or whether or not it's just one of these generalized forms is pretty simple. And this will vary by your state. So as you can see, that those of you who are in Missouri, and hopefully those of you out of Missouri as well, know that our state postal initials are MO. MO is for Missouri. If you're familiar with the Damn Yankees musical, Shoeless Joe from Hannibal Mo. Shoeless Joe was from Hannibal, Missouri, but the song was Shoeless Joe from Hannibal Mo. And so, yes, you've got Mo there, and if it's Mo, then that means that it's specific to Missouri. If you are in Virginia, you'll have forms that say VA, and they're specific to Virginia. I know I've got somebody in California. If you're out there, it'll say CA, and it's specific to California, and so on. But if you see US, then that's one of the forms that no matter what, this same form is going to show up in Virginia. It's going to show up in California. It's going to show up in Kansas and Nebraska and Illinois. Okay. And so this one would need to be tailored a little bit more to your state if you're trying to employ it for use in your state. But what you can do, like, let's say that, yes, somebody needs, let's say that this looks like what the patron needs: bill of sale of automobile and odometer statement for sale as is. So let's say that that's what we think the patron needs. First of all, before you even go into the file itself, you can get a little description here. In this description will hopefully kind of like how an abstract would do in an article or something like that. Hopefully this little description here will give you some kind of clue or indication as to whether or not this is actually what you need. So you get this description here. This form is a bill of sale for an automobile. The seller guarantees that the automobile is his, her, their property and is free of all claims of offsets of any kind. The bill of sale also states that the automobile is sold as is without any warranties expressed or implied. Separate odometer's disclosure statement is included with the bill of sale. All right, and then yes, so if somebody were to, you can look at that with the patron, and if the patron is like, oh yeah, that does sound like what I need. First of all, don't give the patrons legal advice, but just tell them if that sounds like what you need, go for it. And then you can also get a little preview here. So you can get that preview, and then yeah, if the patron sees the preview, likes what they see, and that sort of thing, then you can go ahead and download from here. And one of the neat features that this was not a feature when I was actually a public librarian all those many, many years ago, but it's a feature now, is that they do have, almost all of these forms now do have a Spanish counterpart. Okay, so you can download in English or Spanish. And when you download, I actually don't know if I have, oh, okay, yeah, I've got that. All right, so because I'm not, God, okay, so this is one of the reasons why I do wish that I had my public library. I mean, that I had my university laptop. So, because what I was going to do, as you can see, there's this edit here. I actually have Word on my university issued laptop, but I don't think I've got it on this personal laptop. Man, I got to get these things kind of synced up. But if you were to, as I'm sure you all can imagine, you all have imagination. So you can imagine that if I were to open this in the actual Word application, then I could actually, what you can do is you can fill in the blanks. So I live in Jackson County, Missouri. I would be able to just be able, let me see if there's something else I can do here. Okay, so again, this is why I'm glad that I can at least pause now, because yeah, you would have wanted to have sat there and watched me just fumble around on the computer until I finally got that uploaded into Google Drive. And this would work the same way if I were actually using the Word application. So what I can do, now that I've downloaded it, I can fill in the blanks. I live in Jackson County, Missouri. I could put that, and this does work better in Word. Like, for instance, this would still be underlined in Word and that sort of thing, but we work with what we've got. So let's say that I'm selling the vehicle for $500 and that sort of thing. I'm able to put all of that information there. It's I don't know, a Altima, something like that, if I could spell. And you can just fill in the blanks and make it relevant to what you are doing. Make it, you can, make it relevant to what you're doing. Make it, the real word I was thinking about was applicable. You can make it applicable to what you're doing. And yes, sometimes you will need to actually have this information. You can fill out the form, but then you may need to sign it in front of a notary sometimes. So what you could do, again, you can actually fill out the form, fill in all the little blanks and everything, and then you print it out, and then you actually sign it in front of your notary and all of that, okay? And that's the odometer statement piece right there. So that is pretty much how this database works. And again, you have a wide variety of things that you can use here, not just your automotive forms. You actually have a wide variety of topics that you can get into, as I discussed earlier. Now I'm going to go back out here, and I'm going to go into the bill of sale again, but what I wanted to do from here is show you how the US forms can be a little different. So first of all, a lot of times the descriptions aren't that great. You see that the description there is a lot more shallow and everything, that you can get the, so with this form here, and I'll go ahead and download it. I'll pause as I download it to save you that time as well. All right, and so this is that US form that I just downloaded, that I was just talking to you about, and I'll just show you again that whether you're in Word or Google Drive, which is what I'm in right now, or whatever the case, it's still the same concept of you can fill in the blanks and that sort of thing. But as you can see, this form looks a lot more basic than what you saw with the Missouri legal form, and that's the thing a lot of times. So as a comparison, look at how formal this one looks as opposed to these forms that are more US broadly applicable. These look a lot more basic and that sort of thing, but they can still get the job done. And in this case, this is still one that you would sign in front of a notary, possibly depending on your state. This is in this acknowledgement, and you see this right here. Acknowledgement may be optional and form may vary by state. So you may actually alter this information a lot more, but I think in the state of Missouri, you would still be using a notary public on something like this here, okay? So again, these are very useful for those who are trying to save money, trying to handle some of their legal issues on their own. Attorneys are just not a luxury that everybody has and that everybody can afford. And a lot of times, again, we are there to allow people to still access things that they may need, even when their finances do not match the finances of the elite or the upper crust, okay? Now let's go back in, and I'm going to make myself small here again. Okay, and now I'm small. And so the searching works pretty much the same way. I am going to go into one other search here before I do a freeform search, but I'm going to do a freeform search in a second. One thing that I do want you all to know, though, is that as you get into more complicated topics, so if you've got a topic like divorce, that can be a pretty complicated topic. And so when you have a topic like divorce, then these things get broken up a lot further. So family law, divorce discovery, separation documents, service documents, worksheets, all that stuff. All of this stuff is accessible through the Gale legal forms. And now these are getting into more US broad things, so I went a little too far maybe there. But as you can see, the first few things that you're going to come across are probably going to be more specific to your state. You're seeing a lot of Mo here, but then the further I go, the more that it's broadening out to states, to the U.S. or to states in general, okay, and you're seeing that there. But they do a good job of kind of like categorizing these things into various separate categories so that you can find the things and they're easier to find, and that is the case with all of the broad categories, whether it's divorce or real estate or landlord tenant and all those things. Okay, the last thing that I want to show you is the freeform search. All right, and we can make me small right here. So freeform search, let's say that somebody they don't want to go through the trouble of going through all these broad categories to find what they're looking for, but they know they need a wedding consultant. Okay, and there you go, wedding consultant, search, and you'll see three things. I'm going to go with the thing that is specific to my state here. But yeah, and you get, oh, well, they've got quite a few, they've got quite a few different types. Oh, and this has always been what I've been looking for. So it used to be, ooh, I'm so excited. I did not know about this. So it used to be that you could actually plug into the freeform search, that you could just plug in wedding photography, and I actually used that. And you could actually plug in wedding photography, and a wedding photography agreement would be one of the first things that came up. But as you can see, watch, I'm going to do that here. And as you can see, it's not coming up in the drop-down menu. However, I never knew this. I just learned something with you all. So if you do wedding consultant, and then you go into this package, this consultant package, now you can get the videographer or the photographer. Oh my God. Okay, and then you can download that. Now, I'm not going to edit this, but yes, so you can basically modify this letter, and you can, again, fill in the name, photographer, the bride, I'd say bridal pictures before or after the wedding. You can select before or after or leave it as it is, all those things. Oh my God, this is amazing. Okay, because I thought that this was just lost. I don't think they did a good job of, taking it away so you can't find it as easily through the drop-down menu, but still, at least it's there. Okay, so that is great to know. But so yeah, that's how the freeform search works, and so yeah, that makes it so much more powerful. That is so interesting. I love that. Okay, so I promised you all a 25-minute check-in video, and then I I went back on my promise and I said there was something else I was going to mention. Let me say this. If you just want to get the state of the course update, and then after that, you want to just learn a little bit about the database, but you don't want this whole food for thought thing that I'm going to do next, you can chime out right here. And then it really is 25 minutes unsped for you, because we are at the 25-minute mark right now. So if that's the case for you, I thank you for making it this far, and you can go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day. However, if you are somebody who wants to get into the food for thought thing, then stick with me, and we are going to go into that now. Pause. All right, so if you're still with me, food for thought, one thing that I wanted to offer as food for thought is this. So I do know, no, this concern has actually come at me a lot less lately. I would say that since in the past 4 years or so, I've gotten this. Yeah, because 2022 was 4 years ago. I would say in the past 4 years or so, I've gotten this concern a lot less, as far as students asking me, will there even be reference librarians or need for reference librarians in the future, with especially people are asking now with AI, but there was just a time where people were just like, well, the internet is so good and people are so good at searching the internet now. Will there be a need for reference librarians? And here's something that you are starting to see, not so much in the library literature, oddly enough, but in the scientific literature and in the tech literature. You are starting to see people say what Neil deGrasse Tyson is about to say here. Now, if you don't know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is, he is a acclaimed astrophysicist. He was the host of Star Talk Radio, and if you take my intellectual freedom class, I actually bring in his co-host for Star Talk Radio. Her name is Leanne Lord. I bring her in, and she speaks to the class on intellectual freedom and comedy issues. But we're going to listen to a very short piece from Neil deGrasse Tyson right now. It's just a little snippet on YouTube, and I'll link that as well. But this is something that I want you all to kind of pay attention to and think to yourselves, hey, this might actually be something that is good for us as librarians, and something that may work to our advantage as far as job security and longevity in the future. So take a look at this, and this is why I don't want you all to think, oh, AI is just going to replace all the reference librarians. We're going to be out of it. No, this is very important. Just watch.
I foresee the day where AI becomes so good at making a deep fake that the people who believed fake news as true will no longer think their fake news is true, because they'll think their fake news was faked by AI. The day that happens, the entire role of the internet as a source of objectively true information will implode. And that will be the death of the internet, 1992 to 2028. Rest in peace. And the internet will return to just cat videos, because AI will be so good at faking news. I foresee.
All right. So, yeah, again, I just wanted to put that out there in part to say that, yes, those of you who maybe, and again, I will link to that, but those of you who may be worried, and those of you who may have people in your ear telling you, why would you want to become a reference librarian? AI is going to do that, da. We don't know what direction AI is going in, and a lot of people are skeptical of what ChatGPT and all these things, how effective they, even as smart as they're getting, how effective these things will be at doing certain tasks, including information verification in the future, okay? And so when you're looking at that as the future, I do think that in the immediate future, he was saying potentially 2028, as you noticed, in the immediate future, I think that we are going to start to see this shift. People are just going to become more and more untrusting of the internet. And when that happens, I do think that they are going to enlist the services of reference librarians. They are going to enlist the services of print sources and primary documents and that sort of thing. They may come back and start using physical things more, or at least digitized copies of physical things. And that is something that I want you all to look at as opportunities for us within LIS and within reference services and services geared toward users, towards humans, which is what I kind of specialize in. Okay. So yes, don't let, and again, this is nothing new. When I went to library school starting in 2006, so 20 years ago. I was very young. I'm not that old. I'm old, but I'm not that old. So I turned 43 this year, and I was 23 when I started library school. So I was fairly young back in 2006. Or actually for library school, that was really young. But yeah, I say all of that to say that When I started library school in 2006, there were so many people who had not read the Occupational Outlook Handbook, by the way. But there were all these people who had opinions and were in my ear talking about, well, I don't know how viable librarianship is going to be. Why are you going into that? I just don't think that you'll be able to make a whole career out of that in about 5 to 10 years. And Netflix was still mailing things to people back then in 2006. And my youth pastor, who still stay in contact with, but she was my youth pastor when I was a teenager, and she said, "Yeah, I just think that this is a bad idea. You get a master's in library science degree because, yeah, I see that I think that what's going to happen is people are going to get their books through something like Netflix, and they're just going to, they're going to shoot something to some server, and then the server is going to mail books to them or something like that. But the library is going to obliterate as we know it." Now, mind you, back then in 2006, the Occupational Outlook Handbook did say that librarianship was a stable profession, and it still says that today. And we'll talk about the Occupational Outlook Handbook in one of my future check-in videos in this course. But I say all of that to say this is nothing new. If people are naysaying you right now because of AI, don't worry about it, because people were naysaying me about going into libraries back in 2006 because of remote services and that sort of thing, high-speed internet. People were naysaying people back in the mid-90s about going into libraries because of the World Wide Web, even when they were on dial-up connections. And before that, even, there were people that thought that microfilm and microfiche, even back in the 70s and 80s, were going to put libraries out of business. They have never put libraries out of business. The people who thought back in 2006 that I wouldn't be able to make a career out of this, I'm letting them know I am doing, pretty well for myself. Not great, but I'm doing pretty well for myself even 20 years later. And I do think that I'll get another 20 years out of this field, actually another 25 years, and then I plan to retire 25 years from now. But I'm going to make it through in this field. Just this library field has been my career. It has, and it has done nothing but good for me as far as stability in as far as stability, I'll leave it at that. Now, there are going to be some library systems that have layoffs and everything when times get rough. That's just something that comes with the territory, and I apologize for that, and I apologize if you get affected by a layoff in the future. But as far as this not being a stable career path at all, don't listen to the people who are going to be in your ear right now saying, oh, well, there's not going to be a need for librarians because ChatGPT is going to answer all the questions and this, that, and the fourth. They don't know what they're talking about, and people have more specialized information needs than the outsiders realize. Once you actually get 5 years plus of experience as a librarian, you're going to see, oh, people really have specialized information needs that vary a lot, and we have to have a specialized skill set in order to meet all of those needs. The people outside, they don't know because, you have some people that go to the library for health information. Then you have other people that go to the library for business information. But the people who go for the business information, they have no idea the depth of what we offer for health resources and vice versa. And people who are going to the archives, they don't think about any of that other stuff. They're just thinking about their historical research and how they're using the archives and primary documents to get there. I say all of that to say, don't bug out. And I do believe that Neil deGrasse Tyson and those who agree with him are onto something. So I am Dr. Jace, and I would say that your library science degree is not something that you will waste, because you will find use for it, even with all these people saying that you may not. Jace, waste. I can move on with my day. You all are fantastic, and I will see you in the discussion boards.